Welcome to this explainer. If you're managing, analyzing, or reporting on real estate portfolios, you already know that sustainability isn't just some HR buzzword anymore, right? It is a rigorous, data-driven requirement. So today, we're taking the complex SASB water standards and translating them into clear, actionable steps for your reporting.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover why water matters, look at the SASB water management standard, dive into calculating total water withdrawn, define baseline water stress, and finally look at the WRI Aqueduct tool. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Why water matters. We need to start by understanding why water is a core financial vulnerability, not just an afterthought. To really grasp the SASB framework, we've kind of got to flip our perspective. We have to stop looking at buildings as these static, lifeless chunks of brick and mortar. They're actually living ecosystems. Literally, buildings drink water to survive. You've got fixtures, cooling towers, appliances, landscaping, and how much they gulp down depends entirely on the property type, the tenants inside, and where it's sitting on the map.
And hey, this is exactly where the ecosystem slams into the economy. The long-term historical trend is super clear here. Water expenses are going up. Why? Because of population growth, pollution, and climate change seriously constraining our supplies. Add in a massive wave of stringent global regulations and, well, you've got a huge financial threat. Plus, tenants are actively demanding high-efficiency buildings to cut their own operating costs. So managing water efficiency, it's absolutely crucial for driving revenue and securing your assets' long-term value.
Moving to Section 2, the SASB Water Management Standard. How do we systematically measure all this risk across a massive portfolio?
Well, the SASB framework, which by the way is now under the stewardship of the ISSB to ensure global alignment, gives us that unified standard. This means investors worldwide are looking for this exact data in this exact format. It is the recognized baseline.
And that brings us to the core metric we're zeroing in on today, IFRE 148.2. It's a dual-focus metric, which is honestly brilliant because it marries consumption volume with geographic vulnerability. You can't just say how much water you use anymore. You have to report your total water withdrawn and exactly what percentage of that water is being pulled from regions that are actively running out of it.
Section 3, calculating total water withdrawn. Let's see how we build that first half of the metric.
Now, if you own a really diverse portfolio, say high-rise offices, industrial parks, and residential complexes, tracking every single drop probably sounds like a total nightmare. Who pays the bill? Who controls the tap? It's a lot. But the standard actually anticipates this and breaks it down into a very clear methodology.
You just need to systematically follow these 3 steps for the areas of your portfolio where you actually have data coverage. 1. Identify all withdrawal sources. 2. Aggregate that data based on floor area coverage. And 3. Convert that total into a specific unit, thousands of cubic meters. That standardization is vital. It's what allows investors to compare your portfolio apples to apples against your competitors.
And listen, when the standard says all sources, they mean it. The whole shebang. You have to account for everything, not just what comes out of the municipal tap. If your property draws from a local river, taps into groundwater, or captures rainwater in an on-site cistern, that volume absolutely must be calculated and included in your total.
As you tally all this up, you have to clearly define your boundaries. You need to distinguish between the base building and the tenant space. Think of the base building as the skeleton, these central services managed by the landlord. The tenant space, those are the organs, the actual floor area where tenants operate. Together, they make up the whole building's consumption. And here's the kicker. Even if you don't pay the tenant's water bill, if you have access to that data, it has to be in your calculation.
All right, Section 4, defining baseline water stress. We've got the total volume. Now, where is that water actually coming from?
Because, as we know, context is everything. Pulling 1,000 cubic meters of water for a building in a rain-heavy region, that carries a totally different financial risk than pulling that exact same amount in a drought-stricken desert. The standard forces us to uncover those hidden climate risks by flagging our exposure in highly stressed areas.
So how is this stress actually defined? SASB uses a specific mathematical threshold. This bracket right here, 40 to 80%, defines regions experiencing high baseline water stress. If your property is in an area hitting this metric, it's getting flagged in your reporting.
And anything greater than 80%, you've crossed into extremely high baseline water stress. If your assets are drinking from these zones, investors absolutely need to know.
Why? Because those are the properties at the highest risk for sudden regulatory shutoffs, massive price spikes, and severe operational headaches.
Section 5. The WRI Aqueduct Tool. How do we definitively figure out if our properties sit in these danger zones? Luckily, SASB makes this super easy. You don't have to guess, and you shouldn't rely on local news reports. To comply, you use the mandated World Resources Institute's Aqueduct tool, specifically the Water Risk Atlas. You literally just plug in your asset locations, and the tool tells you definitively if that region is in a high or extremely high stress category. It completely eliminates the guesswork.
And bringing it all together, this is what your final disclosure actually looks like. It's a clean, sector-by-sector breakdown. You report the absolute total water withdrawn next to the crucial percentage drawn from those WRI-identified stress regions. Look at this example. An investor can instantly see that while the industrial sector uses the most water overall, it's actually the residential portfolio that carries the massive geographic risk, with 82% coming from highly stressed areas. It's a total eye-opener.
And honestly, that aha moment is exactly why the standard exists. This isn't just about regulatory compliance or filling out some spreadsheet, it's about measuring your portfolio's literal survival in a rapidly changing climate. You can meticulously measure every single drop, but if you aren't mapping where those drops come from, are you just flying blind into a water-scarce future?